First battle. Momo Ayase never imagined that an argument over the existence of ghosts and aliens would spiral into a life-or-death battle. A high school girl born into a family of spirit mediums, she was used to the supernatural, but her classmate Okarun, a total occult fanatic, was obsessed with aliens and dismissed ghosts as nonsense. Their debate escalated into a challenge. Momo would prove ghosts were real, and Okarun would prove aliens existed. To settle it, they ventured to separate locations. Momo to the abandoned Nagi Hospital, infamous for UFO sightings, and Okarun to a haunted tunnel. Momo's day had already been frustrating. She had just dumped her boyfriend after he shamelessly asked for money and then suggested they go to a hotel. Venting to her friends, she admitted she had only dated him because he resembled her favorite actor, Ken Takakura. As she wandered the school halls, she noticed a quiet student being bullied. Without a word, she sat at his desk, staring down the bullies until they backed off. This student, whom she later nicknamed Occult Kun, latched onto her immediately, bombarding her with facts about UFOs and secret government cover-ups. His enthusiasm annoyed her, especially when he dismissed ghosts. When she mentioned that her grandmother was a spirit medium, their conversation turned into a full-blown argument, leading to their challenge.
I dare you to go to someplace haunted, and the deal is, if you end up seeing a ghost, you have to be my gopher!
Only if you go where there's UAPs, and if you see an alien, then you have to admit they're real and be my gopher!
That night, Momo explored the eerie corridors of Nagi Hospital while on the phone with Okarun. As they talked, she opened up about her childhood struggles. She had once resented her grandmother for making her perform rituals in public, which led to bullying. But over time, she realized she was angry at herself for caring about the opinions of someone who had mocked her. Their conversation was abruptly cut short when Okarun screamed. He had encountered Turbo Granny, a grotesque spirit who moved at inhuman speeds. Momo warned him that once Turbo Granny caught someone, they would be cursed. Before she could process his situation, Momo was thrown into her own nightmare. 3 tall, gray-skinned figures appeared before her. Before she could react, they surrounded her. A moment later, everything went black. She awoke strapped to a cold metal chair, dressed in nothing but her underwear. Her captors introduced themselves as the Serpos, extraterrestrials obsessed with human reproduction. One of them activated a mechanical device near its lower body, preparing to extract her reproductive organs. Momo struggled, but a Serpo used its psychic abilities to overwhelm her with an unbearable sensation. Just as things took a horrifying turn, her phone rang. The aliens turned toward the sound, just in time for Turbo Granny to materialize and bite off the Serpo's mechanical device. But this wasn't Turbo Granny acting alone. Okarun was possessed by the spirit, using her speed to tear through the aliens. The Serpos fought back, using telekinesis to pin him down. In desperation, Okarun pleaded with them, saying he had dreamed of meeting aliens his whole life, that he had always been lonely until he met Momo. He begged them to let her go. The Serpos ignored him, intensifying their psychic assault on Momo. In that moment of despair, she remembered her grandmother's teachings, the rituals she had once despised. She focused, channeling her energy. A dormant power within her awakened. Her restraints shattered as a surge of Kai coursed through her. With newfound strength, she launched a devastating kick, sending a Serpo crashing into the walls. The ship trembled from the impact. Meanwhile, Turbo Granny's possession over Okarun grew unstable. Momo rushed to suppress the spirit, restoring control to her friend. But before vanishing, Turbo Granny left them with a chilling message. She had taken Okarun's genitalia. The only way to break the curse was to confront her in the tunnel once more. As the UFO collapsed, Momo and Okarun barely escaped. Gasping for breath, they processed the unbelievable truth. They had both been wrong. Ghosts and aliens were real. As Okarun prepared to leave, determined to face Turbo Granny alone, Momo refused to let him go without her. For the first time, he opened up, admitting he struggled to connect with others because he was an awkward fellow. Momo froze. That phrase, it was exactly how Ken Takakura had described himself in a film. Shaking off the eerie coincidence, she finally asked for his name. Ken Takakura, he replied. Momo was left speechless. Second battle? Momo had no idea that removing a simple talisman would lead to such a disaster. The moment she took it off her torii gate, the atmosphere changed. The air thickened, a suffocating black mist rolled in, and an eerie silence took over. Then, out of nowhere, their noses started bleeding. Before Momo or Okarun could react, a deep, distorted voice boomed through the darkness. A towering, alien-like figure emerged, the Flatwoods Monster. It wasn't just standing there to make an appearance. It accused them of breaking a promise and demanded something utterly bizarre, their banana organs. Before they could make sense of the situation, the monster stomped down with immense force, sending a shockwave rippling through the ground. Momo instinctively grabbed Okarun and leaped out of the way just in time. It became clear that running wasn't an option. They had to fight. But there was a major problem. Momo was using her psychic powers to suppress Turbo Granny's curse inside Okarun. If she let go completely, he would lose control and turn into a rampaging force. Okarun had an idea. What if she only suppressed the curse in his head, allowing him to use Turbo Granny's insane speed without being fully taken over? It was a gamble, but they had no better option. As the Flatwoods Monster raised its foot to stomp again, Momo took the risk. Okarun's body became a blur, his speed amplifying beyond human limits. In the blink of an eye, he lunged at the monster and sank his teeth into its massive fingers, ripping through them. The creature shrieked in agony, but the victory was short-lived. Okarun coughed up blood. His human body wasn't designed to handle Turbo Granny's speed. Before he could collapse, Momo yanked him away just as the monster's foot crashed down, barely missing him. They needed a strategy. Momo noticed something. The Flatwoods Monster was moving like a sumo wrestler. That gave her an idea. If they could force it to touch the ground, like a sumo wrestler losing a match, they could defeat it. She quickly relayed the plan to Okarun. First, she used her right hand to suppress his curse, giving him just enough control to land a devastating kick that shattered the monster's right leg. Then, using her left hand, she yanked its body down with psychokinesis. The plan worked. The monster's right hand disintegrated upon impact, but their opponent wasn't done yet. The Flatwoods Monster suddenly sprouted extra legs to regain balance. Cheater, Momo muttered under her breath before it grabbed her and slammed her into the torii gate. Again and again. Each hit sent shockwaves through her body, cracking the walls around her. Okarun yelled for her to protect herself, but Momo smirked. This was exactly what she wanted. Each time she was slammed into the wall, the gate weakened. She was buying time, creating just enough space for one final move. After one last devastating slam, she seized her chance. With a final surge of energy, she grabbed Okarun, reached up, and slapped the talisman back onto the gate. The moment the talisman was restored, the Flatwoods Monster erupted into flames. Its alien shriek filled the air as the black mist dissipated. The walls returned to normal. It was over. Momo let out a sigh, exhausted but victorious. She turned to Okarun, whose hair had once again turned into a wild mess. Not bad, she muttered before collapsing. Okarun barely had time to react before his knees buckled. Without Momo to suppress the curse, Turbo Granny's energy flared out of control. His body twisted, eyes glowing wildly. His mind faded into chaos as power surged through him. The battle wasn't over, it had only just begun. If you made it this far, you must have enjoyed the breakdown, so go ahead and like, subscribe, and for the real fans out there, why was Momo obsessed with Kentakakura? Drop your answers in the comments. Third battle. Just as Okarun was about to go completely berserk, a voice cut through the chaos. Seiko, Momo's grandmother, had arrived. Without hesitation, she hurled a brick at Okarun's feet. It wasn't just any brick, it was marked with a nail and a sacred circle. The moment it hit the ground, a surge of purifying flames engulfed Okarun, halting his rampage instantly. He collapsed, the burning energy inside him subdued. But Seiko wasn't here just for Okarun. She turned her sharp gaze toward the real problem. Turbo Granny. The malicious spirit lurked in the shadows, waiting for an opening. Seiko smirked. You're not getting away that easily. With a sharp swing of her bat, she drew a glowing line on the ground, an unbreakable spiritual barrier. Furious, Turbo Granny lunged at her, but the moment she crossed the line, her body ignited in invisible flames. Again and again she tried to attack, but each time, she was burned by Seiko's unseen force. You're trapped, Seiko declared, tightening the barrier. But just when it seemed like Seiko had won, Turbo Granny let out a chilling laugh. If you kill me, Okarun dies too. The words sent a shiver down Momo's spine. Momo woke up later in her bed, her heart still racing. Had it all been a dream? She rushed downstairs, looking for Okarun, only to find her grandmother casually watching TV. Oh, I already took care of the spirit, Seiko said nonchalantly. Momo's eyes widened. What about Okarun? Seiko smirked. Oh, I killed him too. Momo froze. Her heart stopped until she saw the mischievous glint in her grandmother's eyes. You old hag, she screamed before running outside. At the main shrine, she flung open the doors, and there he was. Okarun, alive and well. He grinned at her, relieved she was okay. But instead of celebrating, Momo slammed the doors shut in his face. Behind her, Seiko chuckled. You like him, don't you? Momo's face turned red. I do not! But deep down, she knew the truth. She wasn't going to abandon Okarun, no matter what. Fourth battle. Momo and Okarun step into Turbo Granny's tunnel, believing they can take her down easily. But their confidence vanishes when they see a grotesque, gigantic head blocking their path. Turbo Granny isn't just any yokai. She's stronger and more terrifying than they ever imagined. Momo, relying on her psychokinetic abilities, summons her psychic bats to attack, but Turbo Granny barely reacts. Then, to make things worse, she pulls an unexpected move. She returns Okarun's genitals. At first, this seems like a good thing, but without Turbo Granny's curse, Okarun loses his supernatural speed, making him completely powerless. With no other choice, Momo remembers something her grandmother once told her. Turbo Granny loves to race. Thinking quickly, she challenges the yokai to a game of tag. Turbo Granny, arrogant in her speed, accepts. The race begins, and Momo and Okarun make a desperate run for it. But Turbo Granny isn't playing fair. She messes with the rules, counting in a bizarre, unnatural way that catches Momo off guard. The yokai is about to win when Okarun, out of pure frustration, does something unexpected. He bites Turbo Granny. Shocked and panicked, she ends up possessing his body instead, planning to use him to eliminate Momo. But Momo isn't about to let that happen. Using her psychic powers, she traps Turbo Granny inside Okarun, locking her spirit away and ultimately freeing him. For the first time, it looks like they've won. But just as they start celebrating, an even greater threat emerges. The earthbound spirit crab. Bigger and deadlier than Turbo Granny, the monstrous crab spirit begins chasing them through the city. With no other option, Okarun, now using the remnants of Turbo Granny's speed, carries Momo on his back as they flee. But he can't outrun it forever. That's when Momo comes up with a risky plan, luring the crab into a hot spring, knowing that the boiling water will weaken it. The plan works. The heat disorients the earthbound spirit crab, slowing it down. But before they can finish it off, the situation turns even worse. The townspeople, all possessed by Turbo Granny's lingering influence, surround them. It's an ambush. Realizing they can't win by brute force alone, Momo and Okarun strategize. Momo uses her powers to lure Turbo Granny's spirit into a final showdown. She tricks the yokai into chasing her onto a train track, where, unknown to Turbo Granny, Momo's grandmother had already set a trap. With no escape, the Turbo Granny-infused earthbound spirit crab is finally exorcised. The trapped souls of schoolgirls, victims of past tragedies, are freed at last. Fifth battle. While searching for Okarun's missing golden ball, Momo and Okarun discovered that Era had one. But before they could retrieve it, things took a terrifying turn when a mysterious yokai, Acrobatic Silky, appeared. What followed was an intense and emotional battle that changed everything. Era had been acting strangely ever since she found Okarun's golden ball. She believed she was destined to fight demons and saw Momo as her enemy. Just as she tried to exorcise Momo, the real threat arrived, Acrobatic Silky. Dressed in red, she moved like an eerie acrobat, effortlessly dodging attacks. But the most shocking moment came when she kidnapped Era, calling her my child. Momo and Okarun knew they had no choice but to fight. Without hesitation, Okarun powered up, channeling Turbo Granny's speed, and launched a full-force attack. But Acrobatic Silky was far too fast, dodging effortlessly. Then before anyone could react, she swallowed Okarun whole. Momo stood frozen for a split second, horrified. But she wasn't backing down. With Okarun trapped inside the yokai, Momo fought desperately to break Acrobatic Silky's hold. But Silky's long, flowing hair became a deadly weapon, swinging Momo around like a ragdoll. Every attempt to fight back was countered, and Momo was rapidly losing ground. Then Turbo Granny, still connected to Okarun, came up with a plan. If Momo could burn Silky's hair from the inside, she might be forced to spit them out. Seizing the chance, Momo grabbed Era's lighter and ignited the monster's insides. The effect was immediate. Acrobatic Silky shrieked in pain and released Okarun and Ira. Now free, Momo and Okarun weren't holding back anymore. Momo used her psychic abilities to trap Acrobatic Silky mid-air, holding her in place. Okarun took advantage of the opening, using his full speed to deliver a devastating high-speed blow. The yokai collapsed, defeated. They had won. They retrieved the golden ball, but something was horribly wrong. Era lay motionless. She wasn't breathing. Then something unexpected happened. Acrobatic Silky, instead of attacking, did the unthinkable. She offered to save Era. Momo hesitated, but suddenly a flood of memories surged through her mind. She saw Acrobatic Silky's past. Once she had been a loving mother who lost her child. Overcome with grief, she had transformed into a yokai, endlessly searching for her lost child. Seeing Era had triggered those emotions, making her believe that Era was her daughter. With the last of her strength, Acrobatic Silky channeled her remaining energy into Era, bringing her back to life. But in doing so, she lost her aura, causing her to fade away. Sixth battle. After surviving Acrobatic Silky, Era starts acting strangely. She still believes Momo is a demon, but has now become obsessed with Okarun. Momo and Era clash, and before leaving, Era declares she will save Okarun from Momo. Meanwhile, Okarun finally gets his missing ball back, but his troubles are far from over. The next day, Momo senses something is off with Okarun. Something far worse is coming. Suddenly, the school floods, students vanish, and a monstrous snake-like creature emerges. Okarun and Era quickly realize they're trapped in a void space again. Before they can react, a giant crab-headed alien attacks. Okarun transforms into Turbo Granny mode, dodging its psychic attacks while pulling Era to safety. Then bam! The Serpos appear. They're back for revenge and have a plan. Using their powers, they force Okarun out of Turbo Granny mode and pin him down. their horrifying goal? They want Okarun's banana organ to harness his supernatural energy. Seeing Okarun struggle, something inside Ira snaps. Her body changes. Her hair extends and moves like acrobatic silkies. With insane speed, she strikes the Serpos, freeing Okarun. The Serpos are stunned, wondering how a human can enter their void space, but Ira is fully in her element. She declares herself the chosen one and demands they let Okarun go. The fight begins with Ira saving Okarun, but as usual, she misreads the situation. She thinks Okarun's lack of clothes means he's finally accepting her. Meanwhile, the Serpos realize Ira has supernatural abilities and decide she's a valuable test subject. They send their crab-headed alien to fight her in close combat while they attack from a distance. Ira dodges every hit and kicks the crab alien so hard he gets stuck in the ceiling. Just as she prepares to take on the Serpos directly, they use their psychic powers to pin her to the wall. The crab alien recovers and lands a devastating blow, sending Ira flying. Okarun tries to help but is instantly overpowered by the Serpos' Awesome Zone, which nullifies yokai abilities. Just when things seem lost, Momo crashes into the fight. The Serpos recognize her instantly and are furious. She was supposed to be dead. Before fighting, Momo scolds Okarun for being involved with Ira. Ira, now embracing her new powers, is ready to team up with Momo but declares she won't let go of Ken, and the Serpos regain control. They inject the crab alien with a serum, mutating it into a mantis shrimp-like monster with devastating shockwave punches. Okarun and Ira are immobilized, but Momo counters the Awesome Zone and shifts the fight's momentum. Now it's a 3-on-1 battle against the enhanced crab alien. Just as they gain the upper hand, the void space floods and a new enemy appears, Nessie. Momo and Okarun recognize it immediately. Now they must fight for survival underwater. The crab alien boasts about being stronger in water, until he realizes he doesn't have gills and starts drowning. Okarun tries to take advantage, but Turbo Granny's powers are useless in water. Amidst the chaos, Momo and Okarun argue about his moment with Ira. Sensing Momo's frustration, Okarun urges her to be honest about her feelings. Realizing they need speed, Momo uses her psychic powers to turn Okarun into a human speedboat, launching him toward Ira to save her from drowning. With their clothes weighing them down, Momo makes a decision: ditch them. Stripping to her underwear, she tells Ira to do the same. Ira, of course, is mortified. Meanwhile, the Serpos merge their drowning crab alien with Nessie, creating the monstrous Serpo-Dover demon Nessie. This thing is an absolute nightmare, strong in water, capable of shockwave punches, and firing deadly water blasts. Ira tries to fight but is overwhelmed. Momo figures out its weakness: it needs water to keep its mantis shrimp arms intact. She drains the water just as it throws a punch, causing its arms to explode. The Serpo-Dover demon Nessie makes a desperate attempt to drag Momo down, but Ira restrains it with her hair. Using Ira's hair as a rail, Okarun launches himself forward and slashes through the monster, ending the fight. With the battle finally over, the trio escapes the void space, only to realize they've landed back in the school hallway. In their underwear, in front of everyone. No time to celebrate, just pure panic. 7th battle. Upon entering, Momo's excitement grows as she notices that the village is a hot springs district. Gigi explains that the hot springs are linked to his father's volcano research, which is why his family moved there. Momo, curious, asks if the volcano is likely to erupt, but Gigi reassures her that it has been dormant for 200 years. After climbing a steep flight of stairs, they reach the Enjoji house. While Momo senses nothing out of the ordinary, Okarun notices something in the woods, but dismisses his uneasiness as they head inside. Unbeknownst to them, a group of shadowy figures observes them from the forest. After checking the house, Momo concludes that the ghost must be hiding due to its weak spirit energy, making it hard for her to detect. She assumes that eliminating it will be easy and decides to visit the hot springs in the meantime, leaving Okarun and Gigi behind. While relaxing in the springs, she wonders if Okarun and Gigi are bonding, since Gigi is Okarun's first male friend. However, she remains unaware that a group of men is secretly peeking at her. Meanwhile, Gigi invites Okarun to play soccer. As they kick the ball around, Gigi casually asks if Okarun has feelings for Momo. Okarun, flustered, insists that he only respects her, leading Gigi to point out all of Momo's good qualities. This sparks a friendly debate between them about who likes Momo more. Their argument escalates until Gigi attempts to choke Okarun to force him to admit defeat. Suddenly, in the middle of their playful yet competitive fight, Okarun's attention shifts as something unusual catches his eye. Just beyond the trees, partially obscured by overgrown vegetation, he notices a mysterious structure connected to the main house. His playful demeanor fades as curiosity takes over, and he abruptly stops mid-stride. "Gigi, what is that?" he asks, his voice laced with unease. I don't know. I don't remember ever seeing that part of the house before," he admits. Back at the hot spring, Momo starts feeling lightheaded and decides to leave. Just as she's about to exit, a group of men approaches her, claiming that the rusted sign states the hot spring is mixed bathing. Blocking her path, one of them begins talking about gators appearing in hot springs to target women before the group slowly closes in on Momo. She tries to summon her powers to defend herself but is too dizzy. Before she can react, she is grabbed and pushed into the water. At that moment, Gigi, wielding a sledgehammer, breaks through a wall in the Enjoji house, discovering a hidden room filled with talismans. Both he and Okarun are shocked, realizing there is a deeper secret within the house.